Going on to the picks and bans, I'm not sure if you're back yet, Spuddington. Are you here? I assume not, so I'll just be taking this until I hear that he is back. You can have Twisted Fate and Zach banned out here from PrideFC. On the flip side, Evelyn has been taken out once again, so obviously maybe fearing the Evelyn mid or the jungle as well. We have seen both being played in the US Challenger Series thus far. Again, I would like to see if Nasus is going to get a ban. I feel that Young Buck on Nasus was just so ridiculously strong that you either have to counteract the Nasus potential pick or you just have to ban it right away. Thresh has been taken out as well. He is definitely a top tier support character right now in the US Challenger Series and indeed League of Legends, has been banned all the time. And his reasons for that is that he's basically a CC machine. His Lantern allows your AD carry to escape, or of course the ganks to come in thick and fast as well from your jungle. On top of that, Zed and Nautilus have been taken out of the equation, so really nothing to write home about here in the banning phase. It's pretty much standard, and I heard Spuddington very subtly in the background.
Yes. Hello, I have returned and I have taken in a little more caffeine to my system, which is why I was not here. So, yeah, obviously bans underway, and they have banned out that Eve, which is an interesting one. Obviously, you were talking about that though, so I don't think there's any huge problem there. And we are seeing the picks. So obviously you're in the lobby. What are the picks right now?
Young Buck has gone for Ezreal. Obviously you would expect that to be passed on to Reckless. Sona has been locked in as well, so that's going to be Sona, and also Jace have been locked in here for Dongsquad. So both of those characters, indeed all three of the characters picked thus far, have been involved in all three games of this best of three series. I am interested, Spud. I would like to know your opinion. Do they go for Nasus again? And if so, what can Dongsquad do differently to counteract it this time? Would you expect to see a 1v2 lane switch up and starve him from getting his siphoning strike stacks?
I don't think they'll pick up Nasus. If they don't know what he's up against in that top lane, Nasus is just too risky, because his laning phase early on is just not good. He is relatively difficult to shut down for a few select champions, and if you know that's what you're up against, if you know you're up against Malphite, pick Nasus every day because he will farm himself into a monster. But it's very risky. It can backfire very easily. Obviously they could pick Nasus though and then pull a switcheroo. They could put him in the jungle after that. That would work very well, because you can expect them to then pick counters, and then you can then pick up the counter to the counter that they picked for your top lane. It's one of these kind of mind games hashtag things. Obviously though, that isn't necessarily, if that doesn't fit in with the composition you had in mind, then obviously maybe you don't want to do that just for the sake of mind games. But obviously picks will be coming out in just a second, and I assume you already know what they are.
I know what some of them are. Yeah, we've got Malphite also locked in, so again, that is a character we've seen all three games now. Leona, which is an interesting pickup, but makes a lot of sense if they are going to go for that ridiculous chain CC AoE composition that we have seen. The Solar Flare on top of the Unstoppable Force is very nasty. Basically, is a heat-seeking rocket on top of the Unstoppable Force. As soon as it lands, you can just pop the Solar Flare on top of it, and hey, surprise, hey presto, you know, massive amounts of stun lock all over your team. You do have a Caitlyn pickup. We haven't seen Caitlyn thus far. It has been the Varus and Ezreal show dueling off against each other, so that's a lot of poke in the duo lane, and also a Shen. So that signifies to me that we're going to have somewhat of a split-pushing frenzy here coming out for Dongsquad.
Yeah, well, I mean, picking Shen is basically a declaration of intent that you are going to be doing some split pushing at some point, because that's basically the thing he does. Obviously, though, there are ways again of, you know, dealing with that. Shen versus Malphite top lane is a lot more equal than the Nasus versus Malphite top lane. Shen will, I think, eventually start to push Malphite around, but it takes a long time, difficult for him, and it's slow even when he has the advantage. Obviously, as a result of that, that one-on-one lane is not something to be too concerned about. However, Ezreal Leona versus Caitlyn Sona, if Sona puts her foot wrong, she's probably going to die. Because if she's in the wrong position, you know, if Ezreal is in range to use Q or auto attacks, or both, and you land that Zenith Blade, there's a lot of burst coming out early game from Ezreal, on top of the burst from Leona and the CC from Leona, so she's going to have to flash or die at that point. And we are actually going to be seeing Lissandra. I know Kaostv likes to play Lissandra, and he's also incredibly good on that character, roams really well, and we should be seeing some interesting stuff out of him.
Yeah, for sure. I actually think we've seen him previously in the US Challenger Series playing Lissandra. Did a lot of damage. I know you are an avid player of Lissandra yourself, Spud, so I know you'll be looking forward to this one. Did have a Nunu pick coming out there from Sereski, so that's an interesting one as well. Looking at their composition, you have to say it's pretty poke centric in the sense that they have Caitlyn, Sona, and also the Jace. But they also have a lot of elements of split pushing as well. And you just got Nunu, who's going to be a real pain in the backside. And as we saw in a previous game, I believe it was in the US Challenger Series number 5, his Baron stealing potential with the Consume is just unbelievably strong. I think somebody said at the time the Nautilus they're playing against it was like 2,000 true damage OP or somewhere thereabouts. So very, very scary to play against.
Yeah, Nunu jungle right now is really strong. I mean, it's alarming how dangerous he's become because he was actually a pretty competent jungler before they changed around his consume. And obviously they did knock off a little bit of the healing on that consume, but they made it better at objective control and they made it so that it was uneven. They gave him all those extra doodads. They gave him the 10% health. They gave him the percent health damage. They gave him the movement speed, and it makes him now very, very versatile. And it also means he just early game he's just such a beefy bully because he'll walk into your jungle. He'll consume, with that buff, obviously, he will consume a lizard, and then he'll obviously do that, percent damage on the auto attacks. With that Blood Bowl, he'll apply a lot. He'll also be very, very tanky because he has incredibly high base health. He has a lot of attack speed slows to stop you fighting back. He has so much damage. He's just really, really good utility character right now. But anyway, we are going to be going into a quick commercial break while we wait. So we will be getting underway in just a second.
To a city shining bright.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to EUS Challenger Series number 6. We are getting underway with this round 1 game, best of 3 between PrideFC and Dongsquad. Lovely name that is, obviously, but it is now game 3 of 3. We've had 2 close and hard-fought games. We are getting underway very shortly though. I am Spuddington and I am joined by Metas.
Hello.
Alright mate, how you doing?
Alright mate, you're right. We've got a bit crazy here actually. The heat's getting to me a bit. It's like 30 degrees outside in Finland. Who'd have thought it? You always think of it as a snowy country, but enough of the geographic location of where I'm currently at. Let's talk about League of Legends. This is the third game. Game number 1 went to Dongsquad, second game went to PrideFC. Both, I have to say, Spuddington, were incredibly close. Neither of them were blowout victories. Neither of them were just landfall, rolling down the hill, crushing the opposition. Both came after about 30 to 40 minutes when one team started to take a commanding lead and took it home. But I am looking forward to this game 3. I think it's going to go right down to the wire.
I wouldn't be surprised if it did. Obviously, though, this is League of Legends. It's always possible to snowball. And if you have 2 equally skilled teams, if one team does get ahead by fortune or particularly good play in the early game, you can obviously see that turn around very quickly into just a landslide victory. But we are going to be seeing the swap up on the bot lane and the top lane. We are going to be seeing Reckless and Unlimited in that bot lane. Obviously, Leona Ezreal may have a couple of issues actually trying to push around that Glucose Shen. Obviously, if they can get a hook on him, there is a huge risk for him. But at the same time, if they're pushing a lot, which is what you tend to do in a 2v1 lane, it's going to be under tower, so Zenith Blade would pull Leona in, and that's very, very risky. Obviously, the taunt is also very scary if you're at that tower. But Gluco's going to be getting the XP from Wolves, going to be heading out now to this bot lane. Jace versus Lissandra mid, which is not something I think I've ever seen. No,
likewise. It's not your common kind of lineup in the middle lane, so I'm going to be keeping half an eye on that one. It doesn't surprise me that Sona and Caitlyn would want to make something happen. They are going in for the invade here. Sarisk is going to be stealing away the blue buff with the consume. As you were saying before, it's so strong, Spud, with the kind of buffs given to it. And he's going to consistently try and rinse and repeat there. Moving towards the mid lane now, on towards Kaostv, but not really bothering with any potential gank. But as I was going to say before, Caitlyn, Sona, switching it up makes a lot of sense. The poke damage on towards Malphite is going to keep him locked back at his tower. And in turn, as you said in Champion Select completely correctly, if Leona and Ezreal catch out Sona, she is very, very squishy. She will be going down incredibly fast. And that's going to be reflected with this lane switch up. So, yeah, looking good for them.
We are actually seeing CyrusQ and Shook facing off now at the other blue. Unlimited coming around to get aggressive on this one. He knows that CyrusQ used that smite and he knows he can't get in range. The pink ward has been clearing out that green one. So we are now seeing Kaostv getting aggressive. He's almost out of mana though. Has no free spell. Glucose in with a taunt. Now we have the aggression in. We have Lego My Ego now. I'm getting confused because Kaostv was playing him. But obviously, that was first blood pickup. Shook goes down, and I think, yes, Lego My Ego picked up that blue. So buff transfer complete. That is the perfect setup there for CyrusQ.
And in the words of Nunubot, delicious. They're loving that. First blood, a failed blue invade and steal. And it is going to be getting the double buffs onto Lego My Ego, which is going to be bad news for Kaostv all around. Going to be able to spam her at his abilities. The hypercharge is going to do a lot of damage as well with the red buff proc. So, yeah, not looking good for Kaostv right now. CLG.eu starting off very, very well in this game. The question is, can he keep it up? And interestingly enough, actually, we've seen 2 separate builds starting off from Jace. Hold that thought for a second, because CLG.eu's actually going towards the top lane. Going to be putting down a lot of damage onto this tower. I don't feel there's anything that Youngblood can do. And with Shook so far away, this tower is going to fall very, very soon. Oh, just slightly frustrating here from the side of Dongsquad as the creep wave runs out, and that is going to allow Lee Sin to get into position. They could try and make something happen here, but this tower should be falling right now. There we go, it has gone down. So yeah, looking pretty good here. The opening start has been very aggressive, very controlled from Dongsquad.
Now watch and learn from my moves, as I have learned from freaks. But yeah, we are getting aggressive here. We have got CLG.eu just continuing to push this down. He's such a beefy bully right now, though. He's got tons of health, tons of, you know, just getting in the way, slows, speeds up on Tsuchi, and the three-man push squad is continuing to push. They put down a bit of damage on that inner tower. Sandra actually now backing away from that mid lane. He was out of mana, having to go back as a result. We have, in turn, got Lego My Ego getting a little bit of pressure down on that mid lane. He has fired a shock blast off into the nether regions of space, but obviously going to be just throwing it out there. So obviously still has that blue buff. That is obviously an incredibly good setup for him. Kaostv actually returning to the lane, not wanting to risk losing all that farm, and it does look like Lego My Ego will head back. We do have CLG.eu wandering around the enemy jungle, not a care in the world. Going to be going in with the laughs, and Glucose is actually just now starting to lose some damage on his tower, whereas that top tower has been down for a good minute or so. And the three-man push squad is continuing. Tri-lanes legit in League of Legends. You heard it here first. They are going to be continuing to put this pressure down. Young Buck trying to clear this out, taking a lot of poke though. Has been slowed down. We've got Shook coming in. They're continuing to put a bit of damage down, but I feel like this push is going to run out of momentum soon. They're going to back out. They're going to get, you know, those items up. Tsuchi obviously in a very good state though right now. 45 CS to 45 on Israel, but he has got that tower gold, and obviously his team has picked up that first blood, so they're in a good state right now.
Yeah, and Nunu can afford to do this because the Blood Boil on Caitlyn is going to allow her, what I'm expecting to see from Caitlyn here, when they go along with Nunu, is a Bloodthirster followed by a Last Whisper. That's what I'm expecting to see. I'm not expecting to see a Zeal into a Phantom Dancer or the Shiv, because the Blood Boil is basically going to substitute for the Zeal and the attack speed that gives. But obviously, only time will tell. I was going to say previously, before we had the triple push at top lane from Dongsquad, we've seen two Jaces with a completely different build. This time going for Doran's Blade first. Last time around, when it was the flip side and Kaostv taking Jace, went for the Flask and the Boots after getting first blood. A lot of Jaces will typically go, as I said before, with a Fairy Charm, but with Nunu not needing to take a lot of damage masteries, it can go with the Total Biscuit of Rejuvenation and the Explorer's Ward and start with a Sight Ward as well. So Jace doesn't need to worry as much about getting Sight down and stopping the ganks coming in towards him. And again, it's incredible. It always blows my mind how one small change can make such a big impact, like a domino effect in League of Legends.
Yeah, well, I mean, everything is interrelated, basically. So we are now seeing Shipper actually in this bottom lane. We are seeing Tsuchi rotating down there as well. Shen heading to the top lane. He's going to be dealing with Malphite. It's going to be a good setup for them now. They're going to be obviously able to keep that wave up there for a fair while. It's going to be there a long time. It's a big creep wave. We've actually got the recall now coming in. Reckless and Unlimited heading back. Tsuchi continuing to push this bottom lane out. Nunu, yeah, there's red buff. They have the timer on the blue buff, but obviously did not feel they were able to get it. Kaostv obviously now going to be picking up his own blue. That's going to be a good setup for him. And it's actually a good point now that Lego My Ego is recalling, but their own blue will be popping up relatively shortly. He should be back in time for it, but shouldn't be too big of a deal. It looks to me like Kaostv is just going to stick around, though. I don't think Shook will be brave enough. He has no vision on Nunu. We have got the Stand United as well. I would be very surprised if they went for the blue invade, because obviously they're aware of the timer on that blue buff.
Yeah, very true. So we are going to have a bit of a lull in the action again, as obviously after taking the top tower, the duo lane is going to be going down towards bot again. Tsuchi and also Shipper facing off against Reckless and Unlimited. Let's have a quick look at the differentials between the two AD carries. You've got a slight CS lead for Ezreal, but Caitlyn has the VF Sword alongside Ezreal's Spirit Stone and the two long swords going towards the Spirit of the Elder Lizard. I am certain on that one. Either way, the blue buff is going to be donated across to Lego My Ego. Kaostv has his own blue, and it's pretty much a case of just farming this one out. You have to feel that Drake again is going to be the next point where we're going to see a big load of action kicking off.
Yeah, and Glucose is going to be obviously in a better position to respond to that. He has that tower pushed out, so if he can keep the lane pushed out, he can walk down there. And even if he can't, he still has that ultimate. He can still teleport down there. Although against Malphite, he might have to use it for just a stun. But we've got Lego My Ego in mid, has been stunned, has got the Stand United down on him. Shook, V2 going aggressive here, but they actually did not get the teleport in because it was cancelled by Malphite. As predicted, it's just very hard if you're against a Malphite to be out of range when you need to use that ultimate.
Oh, that's ass-clinchingly frustrating for Lego My Ego, because I think his thought process was, do I, don't I, do I, don't I? Oh, the Shen ultimate's down on me, I have to go back in so he can taunt. And in doing so, Malphite's like, trollolol, I'm going to unstoppable force your Shen, now you're caught with your pants down around your ankles and you're a free kill. So Lego My Ego kind of got baited from Malphite. It worked out very, very well for them. And of course, they will pick up a kill going onto Shook, who again is in the right place at the right time. Here comes Lissandra though. Kaostv going to be firing off that glacial path and maybe engaging in. In the meantime, Crescendo has gone down. Here comes Lissandra from the side. So much burst damage going on towards Sona, who is completely decimated. Don't manage to chime it together on towards Tushy though. Here comes Sarascu from the side. Not going to bother. Doesn't look like he's going to have a lot of follow-up damage coming out from Caitlyn, who's on such low HP. Can't afford to risk against the Lissandra with blue buff.
Yeah, it's just a very, very risky thing. And this is one of the strengths of Lissandra. She roams incredibly well thanks to the Claw. Because the Claw just gives her that ability to jump any wall you care to mention. Makes her incredibly good at roaming. Gluco's actually now in a little bit of trouble in this top lane. Youngbuck is bullying him around. He's got that flask. Has got 3 more pots as well. So Gluco's going to have to hold himself in this lane. And actually, if that unstoppable force comes up and Glucose is on this level of health, he could get bursted out. We also have the teleport. So neither of those two are going to be able to actually take each other out here. But that dragon goes down. It's going to be Nunu picking that up. He's obviously incredibly solid objective control, and actually Glucose was in a lot of trouble there. Did taunt Youngbuck, I feel, but it wasn't nearly enough, and Youngbuck picks up that kill, and that tower is going to chew through quite a lot of creeps as a result.
Yeah, actually taunted and ignited the Malphite there. Youngbuck at the top lane, but the passive just too strong, and Malphite was able to just stroll out of there. Has a giant spell and a chain vest, so very, very tanky already. Lego My Ego needs to be careful. Shook is lingering around the right, constantly putting pressure down into the opposite jungle. Is exactly what Lee Sin is designed to do. In the meantime, Reckless and Unlimited are going to be popping down this tower very, very aggressively. Caitlyn was recalled back to spawn, coming back in with a Vampiric Scepter and the BF Sword, I should say. And as expected, I'm pretty sure going to go Bloodthirst to Last Whisper, trying to get with the Nunu's Blood Boil and do some serious damage. Here comes Kaostv again, though. They also have Shook waiting in the wings. This time a ward has gone down. That could potentially put off this invade. Or is it? Because here comes Shook and Kaostv again. Trap goes down. Kaostv walks over it. Shook is all by himself. Dragon's Rage has been popped down. Back towards the tower. The Zenith Blade slightly missing. Lee Sin's taking a lot of damage here, but the aggro has been switched upon. It's going to be Leona going down here. Caitlyn does manage to finally fall, but Kaostv coming around from the side. Sarascu is pretty high on health. Crescendo has landed onto both Reckless and Kaostv as well. The Ice Ball comes out, lands on towards Reckless. And after all of that, that was a 1-for-1 trade with the AD being exchanged for the support. Sarascu's going to pop off the Shen. And the ultimate, I should say, Frozen Tube comes down. Shen is going to pop off the Stand United as well. Picks up the kill on towards Reckless. Now going to be jumping on towards Youngbuck, but he's too tanky and will be pulling himself back. But they also claim the kill on the AD carry. And here comes Shook from the side. Are they going to re-engage this one? I don't feel like they have enough damage to do so, especially as Jace is coming from the side there. Taunt has landed onto Youngbuck, but I don't think anything's going to happen. But still, I need to catch my breath. That was ridiculous.
It was one of those dogpiling things where everyone was like, okay, we should have disengaged now, but we're going to re-engage now, but now we're going to disengage, and then we're going to re-engage, and then everyone's going to pour in from different lanes and different places with different teleports. And yeah, in the end, it did average out. Wait, actually, who did it average out in favor of? I'm not sure who got all the kills there. Lego My Ego now just going to be backing out, though. He was actually a little bit late to the party, didn't really contribute that much. Pretty much everyone else did. And you actually saw at one point the snowball from Nunu chasing so slowly on Reckless that it actually baited him into using his flash when he couldn't pick up a kill, because his attack speed and his movement speed obviously in turn got nerfed quite badly. So he actually picks up the kill on Shook with that net Q combo. Very nicely played. I was not expecting that level of burst out of Caitlyn, but nicely done. Still, Kaostv not able to pick that up himself. Suchi will back out with that kill. Unlimited was maybe looking to get aggressive there, but decided against it.
I can almost feel the facepalm from Shook there. I don't think he was expecting that level of burst either, because one minute he's alive, next minute he's dead. Going to be jumping on towards Kaostv. The ultimate comes out, the absolute zero from Nunu, forcing the flash away. In fact, no, it wasn't the flash, it was the claw. But that is going to give them enough pressure applied onto mid to pick up the tower. and now move themselves about 2.3k gold ahead. That is pretty much the 2 towers they've picked up, though. So apart from that, the farm is fairly equal overall, but they do have the slight global advantage.
Yeah, obviously, we will be seeing some, aggression coming out shortly, I suspect, when that Shen ultimate returns. Obviously, Summon a Teleport on Young Buck isn't going to be up for quite a while. Shen ultimate, probably about, a minute and a half, maybe? At this point, actually probably less than that, just a minute I'd say, but he's obviously going to be actually fighting with Young Buck. It's the Battle of the Sunfire Capes, and Young Buck has 2 levels on him, so that's obviously going to give him a significant advantage in this, but I would still expect to see some aggression out of the team of Dongsquad, because that will give them that, pushing advantage. Glucose will obviously be able to arrive at the fight, and they might sacrifice their top tower for it, but so long as they win the fight they are involved in, they would come out pretty well as a result. CyrusQ now continuing to roam around. He is now less of a damage threat than he was. He is now starting to transition into that kind of late game utility Yeti bot. He is a threat, I guess. And actually, Lego my ego in a lot of trouble. He has been rooted, has been stunned. Lego my ego actually could survive though. The Q whiff going with the flash. Shook gets that, but he is going to be in a bit of trouble here. Doesn't have the W for another second. Not going to be going down. CyrusQ obviously didn't have the damage, to take him out. And obviously Reckless is now picking up that bot tower. Shiper was pushed away. Actually not looking too good at the moment. Suddenly, I mean, like over the last 20 seconds or so, for the team of Dongsquad.
Yeah, I guess the only minor consolation for Lego My Ego is that he forced Lee Sin to pop his flash, but still went down, so it is, when I say minor, I mean extremely minor. It's like looking on the bright side of life, but either way, Kaostv now is going to be consistently spamming away CLG with her Qs and all of her abilities, and some auto attacks thrown in for good measure. Top lane, not a great deal has happened, although Young Buck does have a 2-level advantage over Shen right now, so is looking pretty strong. Almost identical builds, both Sunfire Cape and standard boots. Jace coming back towards mid, and it doesn't look like anything is going to be happening for a while. Looked like Shook was thinking about a gank of bot lane, has reevaluated his situation. There is a ward down in the tri-bush, so he's going to be spotted right now, and Shipper and also Suchi, I think, are just going to pull themselves back. Drake is back up again, and I feel like it's only a matter of time before one team tries to force this one down.
Yeah, neither side is at so much of an advantage they can just force anything, although CyrusQ going to be heading towards this. He can solo Dragon pretty quickly, but he wants to just clear this out, and that's obviously going to give them the advantage. They're going to have the vision control over the area. Shook has picked up that Sidestone on Lido, so he's obviously got several more wards to throw in. We might see a little bit of that kind of Dragon aggroing and that Dragon poke, much like you see at Baron usually later on into the game, but they're going to be checking that out with the Q this time. Going to be maybe putting in another ward later, but not right now. Shen is at top, though. He is pushing that out. He has got the Sunfire Cape, and this is kind of what he wanted right now. Malphite is obviously not there to respond to him. He's in mid, so unless they can force a fight now, and to be fair, Malphite is very good at that, unless they can force a fight right now, I feel like there could be some Shen split push action going on. But now the onus is being put back onto Dongsquad. They obviously have no vision right now. They will obviously have Glucose continue to push that out, and they will continue to try and check this out. They are in a lot of trouble if they don't make this fight happen, but at the same time there's a lot of risk. We have got the ultimate coming in from Shen. Crescendo hits Young Buck. Young Buck now into the back line. We've got the stun on Tsuchi. He's going to be going down very quickly, but he's actually not being taken out. Not enough burst out of Lissandra. Reckless now in trouble. He's in the middle of everyone. Glucose in with the damage, but he hasn't got quite enough. We've got the Blood Boil on him. He is going to be getting aggressive here. Reckless now in trouble. Flash Taunt takes him out. We've got Unlimited in a lot of trouble too. He's going to get taken down. Tsuchi obviously not going to get burned down by Young Buck, but Young Buck is going to be putting a lot of damage onto Glucose and Cyrus, but obviously not enough to take anyone out. He is Malphite. His damage is actually not a lot at all, but Tsuchi, CyrusQ, and Glucose still alive and picking up the dragon.
Yeah, I mean, Malphite is effectively a sponge that every now and again just flings itself at 100 miles an hour at your face. But after the Unstoppable Force, not a great deal. It's going to be jumping back in, though, with the Q, using the teleport, trying to put down some pressure towards this mid lane. But at the end of all of that being said and done, a Drake and 4 kills were picked up there for PrideFC. Here comes Lego My Ego jumping onto Young Buck, trying to push himself back. In fact, I revert that. It's not for PrideFC. It was, of course, for Dongsquad. Apologies. But they are looking pretty good here, Spud. They've got a pretty decent lead now on gold. It's moved up forward to about 5k or thereabouts, 4k I should say. So it is looking pretty good for them.
Yeah, they're putting in a solid performance right now. Obviously, they've taken that dragon. They've used Shen ultimate, so they will have a little bit less map pressure. But I feel like Shen is now a little bit closer to where Malphite is in terms of strength, so he can't be forced out one-on-one like that. We are seeing Glucose heading towards Kaostv up here, who is just going to be throwing back the Q. Glucose will just clear this out. He's not so bothered about getting aggressive. Actually, Sona is in from the side, so maybe he will, but not going to be going for it in the end. I don't think they really have the damage, honestly. Over a very long period, maybe they could, but eventually Kaostv would probably have just used the claw and escaped as a result. So, who's really going to have the advantage in the next fight? That's the question. And you've got to say right now, it does feel still like Dongsquad, but they do have that potential, that picking potential up against them. They do have that Leona, they do have that Young Buck with the Malphite, but we are potentially seeing a fight here. Unlimited is in trouble. The Nunu ultimate goes down, but he gets stunned again then by the Leona. Tucci on the edge here, but the cataclysm of catastrophic, huge AoE there, just destroying everyone in its path, and that actually puts them in a much better position as a result. This mid tower is going to fall. And I don't know if Young Buck... No, he did use that ultimate after all.
I feel that was a bit of a misplay from Serescu. I don't want to like, you know, rag on him or get on his back or anything, but he effectively popped the absolute zero to try and pick up the kill on Unlimited, which they didn't even manage to do. And that's the support. Here comes Ace in the hole. We'll be picking up Shook, I should say, and that is going to be a snipe down. But even still, absolute zero and a few abilities were popped just to try and claim the kill onto Leona. In doing so, as you said, the catastrophe of cataclysmic proportions just came down on their head. Frozen Tomb, the True Shot Barrage, the Unstoppable Force, like everything was just thrown upon them as soon as Absolute Zero was down, and they managed to pick up a few kills on the tower as well. So that is somewhat of a claw back here for PrideFC. They are still about 2k behind, but again, as we said both games thus far, Spud, still anybody's game, still pretty much identical, still pretty much neck and neck.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, 2,000 gold, well, 1,700 just isn't enough to really swing team fights, and they're not going to with just that amount of gold. It's really going to come down to who plays it better, and again, we've shown that either side could swing it very easily. We continue to see these fights go either way. We have got Shipper picking up the mobility boots now. Going to be going for that rat map control again. Obviously, it's nice to have that movement speed, although I do maybe wonder whether, you know, you might be better off with something like Ionian boots, because obviously that would give you the cooldown reduction, which is super nice on that Sona ultimate, but far be it from me to question the works of anyone else. And actually now Cyrus Q is going for that Baron, has been caught out by Kaostv though. The ultimate goes down, the Shen ult goes down as well though. We've got the Ace in the hole going across, and that's actually, for a failed attempt at Baron, that's actually worked out okay for them. They have got that pink ward in the area. Shook now warding out of the back of Baron. Do you reckon they were trying to channel like the Korean All-Stars thing there, where you kind of just sneak in around the side? Although, to be fair, they all did it over the wall, and it's actually nothing like that. But, you know, they could, you know, sneaking at all, sort of. And Suchi is taking red, but could potentially be attacked here.
Yeah, Shook is going to be jumping through, trying to steal off this red. Will manage to do so, but at what cost? He's been crescendoed and taunted as well, and you've got to say, simply was not worth it. Yes, you got the red buff, but you're now dead for the next 30 seconds. And with the jungler being down, they may think about pushing the envelope here down mid, or potentially going for a Baron. It's pretty much the choice is all theirs. Looks like they're going to be opting for the former and pushing down mid. Serescu taking point, throwing out the Ice Blasts on towards Leona. They have whiffed themselves a Young Buck who takes a Shock Blast to the face, but pretty much loses nothing in the process, just his passive, which isn't going to be that much of a problem. Have managed to get their tower down to about 50% HP, but it looks like that's all they're going to get for now. So, yes, they got a kill, but they weren't quite able to pick up what they wanted.
They did force Reckless to recall though. He was previously shoving in that bot lane solo, so they decided that, you know, push mid. If he tries to base race us, he's probably going to lose and we might be able to engage under the tower. Obviously Reckless seeing that then just thought, right, okay, I'll join up with the team. He backed out, they backed out, obviously reset to normal, and obviously now we are going to be seeing a lot of wards from the team of PrideFC. They've got to be very careful because Cyrus Q could just pick up that Baron pretty much at any time, so long as he has another member of the team with him with a bit of, you know, with a bit of sustain themselves. You know, he could probably duo it with Shen, actually, at this point. Maybe. I don't know. Actually, that might be pushing it a bit. But certainly he could do it with Caitlyn, and probably even with that Jace. So he's scary. He's very, very scary in terms of objective control, as has been mentioned time and time again. Nunu, king of objective control. By now, he actually has consume at level 3, so it's 800 true damage, in addition to his smite at 790. That's very, very scary. He's very, very scary, etc., etc. They are going to be going back to farming now, except that it looks like Dragon is going to spawn very soon, and I wouldn't be surprised to start seeing it being taken.
Yeah, indeed. You do have both Shen and Malphite at the top lane. Shen's ultimate is not off cooldown, so that is going to be a free Drake here for blue team, who slay that very, very fast. In the meantime, looks like purple team are pretty much content just to pull themselves back to mid. So another global objective has been snagged here for PrideFC. The gold deficit does slightly diminish, about, what is it, 1.3k now, which is absolutely nothing. Now they're going to try and burst down the front door, and they do this very fast with the hypercharge plus the blood boiled up Caitlyn, as expected. Did go for the Bloodthirster and the Last Whisper, now going for Zeal and Pickaxe as well. Now going to be, they're actually pinging towards Baron, so do you think they're going to go for this, Spud, or are they just trying to catch Youngbuck out, who is basically all by himself in no man's land? I don't think they want to engage on this, actually forcing the flash away from Lego My Ego. A bit of miscommunication, because the stand United did come down from Shen, so I'm assuming that Glucose was thinking, okay, we're going to engage this one, lads, whereas Lego My Ego was like, screw this, I'm flashing through the wall, and in turn they've basically just wasted the Shen ultimate for nothing.
Yeah, that's not what you want at all. Obviously, Shen ult, huge cooldown. Flash, huge cooldown. And going to be pretty pleased about that with PrideFC. Obviously, Jace now will not have that escape for Youngbuck, which is very, very scary for him. Obviously, though, that isn't going to change the fact that they still have the potential to win fights very easily. Obviously, they have tons of damage in their team comp, and they have a rather beefy Nunu to get in the way, as well as that rather beefy Shen. They also have that shield, which is very important when you're against Malphite, because you can actually just put it straight down on the person who is being dived super, super hard. And if you obviously shield the person being dived, it's much, much easier for them to stay alive, especially if you can do it before the damage actually lands, before that initial burst comes down, because it will keep them just that little bit more alive. Because, for instance, if you have Tsuchi and, you know, you take his health, he's got, what, 1,790 health. Okay, say he's going to get bursted. He pops barrier, 395 extra health. Then you have the Shen ult coming down, 550 extra health. And that's actually only at Stand United level 2, so it's going to be more like 800 health later on. That's going to be a lot harder to burst through, because that's, you know, cancelling out at least a Malphite ulti and probably an extra follow-up ability as well. So, you know, that makes it a lot easier to stay alive. Even if you're not using it for split pushing, Shen can be very, very valuable in these situations.
Yeah, and the Locket of the Iron Solari as well is just going to be extra tankability for Caitlyn. But while we have a bit of a pause, I have read that Glucose is lagging, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll be ready to jump back in this game very, very soon. However, Spud, throwing this question over to you, as it stands, 9-10, gold is pretty much non-existent in terms of difference, just 2k, which is nothing at 26, 27 minutes through the game. Who are you fancying here? I know it's a tough question, but which of these two teams do you expect to edge ahead and claim this third all-important game?
At this point, I'd still have to say I prefer Dongsquad, but what I will say though, outside of that, is we do actually have some giveaways this week, which I have just been informed of by our producer. We actually have quite a lot of stuff to give away. Looking at the list, I'm jealous. But we have what was it? It was 250 euros in RP we have to give away in the form of 5 10 euro cards. We've got 5 20 euros, 5 10 euros, and 1 50 euros cards for RP. I'm being a very smooth plugger here. And then obviously we also have some additional prizes in the form of 5 Absolute Energy drink cans, which we can give away, and 1 Razor Black Widow. So if you want to be in the running for that, I believe you have to register on a certain site. The link should be coming up in chat in just a second. And I believe you could enter the code giveaways at any time. Don't enter it at any time, because that would be annoying. But obviously, actually, I just said that was stupid. But anyway, I think the game has actually resumed. So yes. I will be jumping to live and we can get that underway. We can talk about the giveaways after this is all finished, but I've given you the rough kind of idea there. So game getting underway as I speak.
Yes, let's jump back into the action. We will give you the details again after the conclusion of this epic. Best of three, Frozen 2 Man's goes down towards Shipper, who's been caught out of position. True shot barrage comes across, and for the second time in this game, we see a snipe going down. Both AD carries just trying to outdo one another, and with that pickup, with the crescendo not being on the table for the next 25 seconds, they are going to be starting off on this Baron. The question is, can Sersky try and make something happen? His flash is up. All the cards are on the table here for Sersky to make something awesome happen. Here he comes from the side, blood boiling away. Kaostv feeling that it's a bit too risky and will pull away from Baron. So just the mere presence of Nunu is enough to make them think twice.
It's not just that, though. They know Malphite is pushing in this bot lane, and that Lego My Ego was forced to respond to them. He had to go to this top lane, and now Young Buck will put damage down on this tower. Nunu and Caitlyn actually farming wolves, so they're not going to be able to get that, but they have to stay in the range to respond to that Baron. So that was basically free damage on the tower. Young Buck actually may be able to get this. He has taken quite a bit of, damage there from the tower, but he is going to get it. So good setup there. That was a very nice Baron call because they were aware they could disengage whenever they wanted, but they were also aware that if they did get engaged upon, that they could just fight it in an advantageous situation. They wouldn't get engaged upon. I've meddled my words again. Excuse me. Apologies. It's a long day.
It doesn't make it any easier when we can hear ourselves on Bass's mic. It's quite off-putting. he's just apologised, but yeah, I feel your pain there, Spuddy. I feel your pain. Either way, yeah, Baron did not go down. The goal deficit is getting even narrower here. Just 800 in it to the team of Dongsquad. 10-10, 29 minutes on the board, and 4-4 towers. It could not be any closer if it tried right now, Spuddy, and I have a feeling we're in for an epic climax to this game.
I wouldn't be surprising. This has been a little bit more passive than the previous two games we saw. Both of the teams are kind of playing a much more defensive roaming style than they were then. Obviously, we are going to be seeing some split pushing coming out. As we mentioned in Champion Select, Shen is kind of a declaration of intent, but obviously he's up against Teleport Malphite. I don't know if either of them are actually physically capable of pushing the other one out of a lane in anything other than, glacial periods of time. So I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up seeing a fight forced. And the interesting thing is now, Shen can't actually teleport, and nor can Young Buck. Shen can use his ultimate for the shield, except then Young Buck will ult him, block him off, and then teleport himself. So neither of them can actually go to the other fight. They're basically locked in an endless duel here. Obviously, I guess Glucose, if he used it for the shield, could then taunt Malphite if he was within range, but there'd be a lot of risk that Malphite would just kind of, go for the ultimate in, knock him up to get out, and then flash out and teleport himself. That is actually a very viable option for him, but as I say, locked in an endless duel to a ninja and a rock. Interesting. But we are going to be seeing basically this 4-on-4 continuing in the mid lane. Both sides looking to get down the poke. Tsuchi obviously has a fair bit of damage now. As you mentioned, he has got the components for an Infinity Edge and also has a Zeal. Does not have the Quick Cloak actually for the Infinity Edge, but we have got that Last Wisp, we have got that Black Cleaver, have got the Maroon Mana. The core 3 trio items on that Jace going to be coming into play if they get into a damage situation, but going to be backing off, going to be circling around, probably going to be heading to Baron.
Yeah, I mean this bot. I've been watching this bot duel between Malphite and Shen for the last minute or two, and I'm just in awe. It's like two concrete slabs just pushing against each other. Sometime in the next few centuries, maybe one of them will break, but nothing is happening. Vorpal Blade flies onto Malphite, nope. Seismic Shard back onto Shen, nope. And just rinse and repeat for the next 500 years, nothing will happen. So you have to feel it's going to be up to the other 8 players on the map here to make something happen, because Malphite and Shen are more than happy just to farm bot lane to their heart's content. Meanwhile, in mid, we do see a little bit going on, but importantly, Drake is being taken here from the side of PrideFC, and they will be picking that one up. So, again, the goal difference very, very close. Let's have a quick look as we have a bit of a lull in the action here, Spuddy, at some of the items being built up. Is there anything that's catching your eye, other than the fact that Lissandra has a lot of ability power, Rabadon's Death Cap, and a Sonya's Hourglass?
Well, obviously that's a scary setup right now. That's pretty much saying, I want to do burst damage. She has 1,000 gold in store as well. Would expect, if she's gone for that kind of really aggressive style, that she's going to go for that Void Staff next. Has actually now popped a blue elixir, so obviously that's going to make her mean she clearly wants to force something in the near future. They could try and, go for a pick, basically. In fact, I feel that's probably what both teams are going to do here. Neither side can really force Baron right now. Neither side can afford to go for it unless they can sneak it. They can fight vision control, but honestly, both teams are going to know that the other one, odds are, hasn't actually gone for it and is probably just baiting if they do go out of sight. But obviously, as a result, the style that both teams are probably going to play here is going to be to go for a vision control / picking war. If they could get someone out by surprise here, we have got Unlimited going in with the ward here. He has put it down. See, now the claw comes in and the Ezreal ult comes across, but nothing comes in. As a result, both sides just going to back out again. We've got them going back to farm this mid lane. So since it's looking like this may be a farm fest for the next approximately day, we are going to be, I think, talking about builds for a sec. I mean, who really do you feel at this point, Metas, is going to have the best late game here? Because it is looking like both sides could quite reasonably hit full build.
That is an interesting question. I'd probably say, I thought the claw was going to signify an engage on the edge of my seat, but I can go ahead and sit back down again. Oh, you actually see a very fast Malphite running across there with the turbo boost, with the home guard boost, just flying across. So teleport has been popped. Some more poke going down onto Kaostv, who's actually about a quarter HP. So there is stuff happening, ladies and gents. There is stuff happening, and if we do get that big epic team fight, I hope it doesn't disappoint. I really do, because it's been hyped up so much. But if we do, we will cut to that very quickly. I feel like Dongsquad probably have the stronger late game, because typically Lee Sin is regarded to fall off quite a lot late game. Ezreal, the blue build, again, is not going to do huge cataclysmic amounts of burst damage the later this game goes on. Caitlyn, however, will get to a point where she is absolutely ridiculous. So I have to give the slight edge to Dongsquad, but again, it's down to how much can they hit the nail on the head when they go for these engages. Are we going to see that pixel perfect unstoppable force followed by the solar flare and then Lissandra frozen tombs? Because it doesn't matter how strong Caitlyn is, it doesn't matter if Lee Sin's falling off. If they try to give her those ultimates, somebody is going to get nuked instantly. So yeah, it's very tough to call, Spud.
Yeah, I do happen to agree with you though. It does again feel like PrideFC maybe will lack a little bit on threats. Ezreal, obviously, like you say, is not building AD carry, and obviously you wouldn't expect him to. He's Ezreal. But it does mean he's going to have some issues late game when compared to Caitlyn. In terms of just straight up sustained damage, Caitlyn already is probably outdoing him in terms of damage, and we now have Glucose in the mid lane. I don't know what to do. This is not unusual, but he's got that ultimate still, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him return to bot lane at some point. He may actually just look to get aggressive here. Could go for the taunt, actually. Young Buck is around. He is going to try and get to the back line if he can. CLG.eu backs out. So, obviously, continuing to back out, continuing to farm. We're still at 10 and 10 kills. I have a feeling nobody has killed anybody else for about 10 minutes. Maybe I'm wrong. But I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. So, both sides going from wanton aggression to just nothing. But we do now potentially see this Baron going. It's obviously going to be Young Buck waiting in the wings here. He has been checked out, though. They were not going to be caught out. So, continuing to play the tricksy game. Continuing to play the, I don't want to get caught. I don't want to get caught. You don't want to get caught. No, no, no. Glucose now actually getting aggressed upon. We've got the claw going in. We've got the Unlimited going in. We have the taunt on Kaostv. Kaostv forced to ult himself. Crescendo goes across. Unlimited in trouble. Kaostv Zhonya's as well. We've got Shook going down. We've got Lego My Ego on the side. We've got Tsuchi on the side. Neither of them are getting focused out, but they have the unstoppable force on them. They've also got the Shen ult going down. Now we've got Malphite taken out of the fight. Shipper going in. We've got Reckless in a lot of trouble. CyrusQ going in. Not going to be able to get it. And it does actually look like something finally happened. And this Baron should, in all logic, unless Reckless can pull up something incredible, should be going to Dongsquad.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Reckless doesn't want to get needlessly killed right now. And yeah, they will be picking up the Baron. Sona flashes up red. And finally, we've got a team fight. We've got some action that we can saturate ourselves with. And it definitely goes in the hand of Dongsquad there. A 3-for-1 exchange plus a Baron. And I feel the biggest change there was the fact that the AD carry from Dongsquad, Sushi, it was doing so much damage compared to Ezreal. 6, 1, and 4 was just cutting through people left, right, and center. 333 CS to Ezreal's 344, but he's simply not doing the same kind of damage right now. And with the Baron buff, I would hope, from the neutral perspective, that Dongsquad play very aggressive. They try and use Baron buff. They don't sit back in the spawn and farm up, but they try and make something happen, because of course Baron buff is definitely a nice advantage. You know, you can't write it off. You've got the GA now on Jace as well, so again, that could mark some intent for being a bit more aggressive. But I know Bass, our producer, is sat in the back and he's like, yes, long best of 3 viewers, and you can see dollar signs in his eyes. He's loving this.
So, sorry, I thought you were too busy talking. Actually, Reckless goes in with the Blade of the Ruin King. Shipper very, very low. Ezreal comes across, it doesn't actually hit him. We've now got Cyrus Q having to kind of play the passive game, but it does look like nothing's actually going to come of that. Sorry, I just suddenly saw you were talking, and then
No
the claw.
I saw it as well, but I was like, I don't think they're going to get kills here, because, you know, the maneuverability on Sona was too high, but it was very, very close, especially the Shirelli's Reverie. It definitely saved their bacon there. But yeah, I know Bass is loving this. He's like, I want it to last another hour at least. And then we've got another best of 3 after this as well. So plenty more League of Legends regardless. But let's focus on this game here. Dongsquad against PrideFC. Best of 3. We're on the final game here. The Baron has just been picked up with a 3-for-1 exchange as well. And now Dongsquad are looking to push aggressively. Drake has been picked up from PrideFC, but they have to be careful, because Dongsquad are pretty happy, pretty content to try and split push right now. Or potentially just go for the jugular and go right down the middle lane. A Stubble of Force has been popped in. Here comes the Frozen Tomb as well from Lissandra on towards Sushi. So even though he's pretty strong, he's been harassed so hard. The Shen ultimate does come down. They've managed to pick up the kill on towards Lissandra, chasing off the Nunu. The kill doesn't go down. There we go. Finally, Reckless picks that one up. But Shen did get the kill onto Lissandra, so that was a 1-for-1 exchange. And with Baron buff and the AD carry still very much alive and at full HP, they are going to be nuking down this mid tower, nuking down the mid inhib as well. And what's really impressive to me about that, Spud, is that Suchi was basically dead. Really low on HP. Suddenly you flick back to him and he's on full HP with a GA. So hard to nuke him down. They focus so much on him.
Well, you saw it right there. He popped Barrier and he popped Shen ult. So he had, you know, over 1,000 health of shield. And that just meant, well, you've got to kill him again, basically. Like, that made him incredibly hard to focus out. And the fact that those GAs, both of them, Lego Mayigo and Tsuchi, are still up, means their next fight is going to be even harder to deal with for PrideFC. Mid lane is now going to exert pressure for the rest of this game, because they can't turtle at a tower anymore. They've got to deal with the super minions in the short term, and they're going to have to deal with the improved minions in the other lane in the short term. But the biggest thing is that there's now always a fight. If they want to force it, if they want to go for it, you can't stop the team of Dongsquad. Damn that name, Dongsquad, from forcing it as a result.
Yeah, and I think alarm bells are beginning to ring right now for PrideFC, because I said previously, I want to say 5 or 10 minutes ago, that when you asked me who am I like favouring towards for winning this game, as we have just been told that Glucose is lagging again, so that's why the pauses came about. But when you asked me about the builds and who falls off late game, and I said, you know, Caitlyn is going to do more damage than Ezreal, but if they can chime together their ultimates, Caitlyn will die in a heartbeat. Caitlyn obviously read the script, she wasn't very happy with it, so she changed the ending. She was like, nope, Guardian Angel, even if you pop all your ultimates on me, guess what, I'm going to come back alive and kicking, and I'm just going to roll everyone's face off. And that's exactly what she's done. That time, though, even though they landed the Unstoppable Force, the Frozen Tomb, and the True Shot Barrage on top of Caitlyn's face, the Stand United plus the Sona heals just kept her alive. And she finished that team fight at full HP with a GA still up. Now, the alarm bells have got to be ringing for PrideFC, because Caitlyn is such a scary threat that they need to neutralize her as soon as physically possible. They weren't able to do so. So now's the case, well, what can they do, Spuddington? If they can't nuke down Caitlyn, that sustained damage threat, that's not even mentioning the fact that they have a Nunu being really irritating running around. That's not even mentioning the fact that they have a Jace who's pretty much a full item build right now, other than maybe an Infinity Edge or a Bloodthirster coming in. They have to focus everything on Caitlyn. They can't even take her down.
Well, what they can try and do, and what you can always try and do, pretty much no matter how far behind you are, play the vision game, try and get a pick off. Because obviously, in a straight up fight, it is apparent they no longer can focus out Caitlyn. They have a lot of problems with doing so. Obviously, maybe if Malphite could land a really good ultimate on like 3 people, and then maybe they could burst someone down, but very, very difficult for that to happen. They can't really rely on that if they're planning their strategy. If their strategy, though, must be, essentially, now, to try and prevent them from forcing fights by having someone aggressively push other lanes, having that person, say, for instance, Shook, actually, because he is fairly mobile, have him push out a lane, have him then back out. Obviously, they also have Youngbuck, who has teleport up, and Shenalt is not at the moment. But they have to exert that pressure, force people to react, play the vision game control, try and keep control of wards in the enemy jungle, and then just look for someone to move out of position. If they can't catch someone out of position right now, it is becoming apparent they can't win a straight up fight. But obviously now we are starting to hit kind of super late game builds, to be honest. Jace, Black Cleaver, Guardian Angel, Last Whisper, Mirror Mana, and a BF sword. Interesting fact about Hypercharge is it can actually crit. So if you built Naive, it wouldn't actually surprise me that much. He can get some hilarious burst if you build for it specifically. This is just like side note now, completely irrelevant to the game because he's not going to do this. But if you build like Atma's Impaler and then multiple Infinity Edges or something like that, if you just build tons of AD and like a Last Whisper, then you just 3-shot everyone. It's hilarious. I played it on Dominion sometimes. But anyway, yeah, obviously he could go for Bloodthirster, which would give him more sustain, or he could go for that Infinity Edge, which would give him maybe a little bit more damage. Probably the Bloodthirster, though. That would be the more sane option. Anyway, obviously, game is still paused. We are going to be continuing to look at these builds. We have got the Ball, we have got the Locket on that Nunu. He is very tanky, continuing to, just be in your face, be annoying. Not going to be able to do anything with it, though, so obviously he is just a utility bot at this point. Doesn't have the damage. He's just very, very annoying and is a buff bot for Caitlyn. Shen continuing with the split push build. He's got the Sunfire. He's actually gone for Wit's End, which is a little bit unusual, but I feel it's because he wants to duel Malphite. Obviously, one of the interesting things about attack speed reduction is that the most efficient counter to attack speed reduction is more attack speed. I don't know how this actually works mathematically, but I was told it by someone who I trust more than me with maths, that was how it worked. So obviously Quicksilver Sash would work as well, but that's kind of you're not going to get that on Shen, probably. But yeah, Wit's End obviously helps him deal Malphite. He does mostly magic damage, more attack speed, more pushing, a little bit faster pushing from the on-hit damage as well, and I expect we'll see Shen's actually picking it up next patch if they introduce the change they speculated, where Wit's End gets that magic resist stealing thing, which could be really cool, but obviously he built that for that reason, I think.
I would love to see Jace, just going back to what you said previously, I would love to see Jace go back to spawn right now and just build like flat out Infinity Edges. I would actually squeal with joy. And yeah, it would be pretty awesome. We are trying to keep tabs on what's happening here, guys. Trust me, we are as frustrated as you are by these pauses because we just love the game. We want to see how it ends. And it has been an awesome best of 3 thus far. I am looking at the chats. Seems like there is no more news on what is going down. Still some lag issues for Glucose, I believe. But yeah, you were talking before about the builds, and it is by and large looking like we are starting to get towards that final 6-item build stage, and some of these are really scary. So I'm pretty sure that Caitlyn is going to go for Phantom Dancer. Of course, she could go for the Shiv as well, but I feel with the Infinity Edge, you'd prefer to get the more critical strike. And the movement speed as well is going to be very nice for kiting around characters like your Malphites and your Lissandras and such. So I'd expect to see the Phantom Dancer coming out there. In terms of Nunu, he's picked up a Chain Vest, and I'm interested. What do you think he's going to go with the Chain Vest there, Spud? There's a few options he could conceivably go for, but I'm kind of at a loss for what I would pick up if I were in his position.
It looks to me like he might go for a Frozen Heart. Obviously, at this point, aura items are really nice because they're mostly fighting in a team. Obviously, that attack speed reduction scales additively with his own attack speed reduction on both his ultimate and his E. And obviously, it just means that if someone relies on auto attacks for their damage, and we are actually unpausing, If they rely on their auto attacks for their damage, then that's going to really gimp them badly. But obviously, he could go for anything. But yeah, I would expect that'll be a Frozen Heart. He builds the Glacial Shroud out of the Chain Vest, and obviously then you just build it into the Heart, which gives you that aura. Nice item. In general, good stats for Nunu as well. Gives him the cooldown reduction, gives him the mana. He's just, although to be fair, at this point, mana isn't really an issue for him. And interestingly, he's actually still holding on to his Spirit Stone.
Yes, he is. So Phantom Dancer has just been picked up on Caitlyn. Pretty much expected, pretty much standard. And I'm quite interested at this point right now. Do you think that she's going to stick with the Berserker Greaves or potentially build that into a Zephyr? Or do you think she's going to just upgrade them and see how it goes?
Well, at the moment, they're very much playing on the offensive. Although, actually, no, they're not. Glucose actually is going on the offensive. Reckless gets taunted. Now they're actually going to have to back out of it, though. So I'm going to be coming off that taunt. And actually, Shen taking significantly more damage than anyone else. And we are seeing that, a little bit of poke coming out. Still continuing to play the poke game. And that is actually another thing they can do fairly well. But they're having to match Jace's poke up against, obviously, that Ezreal poke, which is going to be interesting. So, yeah, going to be obviously a little bit interesting to see what goes on here. We have got Young Buck getting aggressed upon. No one puts out the damage. It's just continuing to be this poke, this kite. Kaostv takes permanent damage, though. So kind of does Glucose. But obviously, they have Sona to kind of top everyone off. Whereas, obviously, Kaostv pretty much has to go back if he takes more than one Shock Blast. And that is actually going to be causing them some issues, in addition to the creeps pushing, which they are actually now going to rotate bot to take advantage of.
That's a very good point, actually, that trade definitely goes in the hands of Dongsquad, because they are effectively squeezing out the opposition. They're saying, okay, well, we poked you down, we've got some Shock Blast down, you've got no one to heal you back up again. Whereas on the flip side, if you poke us, well, there's Sona just spamming her Ws all day long, every day. I'm quite worried for Kaostv, because even though he has a plethora of damage, in fact, I thought for a second they'd be engaging on towards Glucose, who was stood on top of a ward, but he's going to pull himself back. His spidey senses were tingling. But Kaostv doesn't have a great deal of health. The only health he's got in addition is the plus 80 health from his Doran's Ring. So even though he does have effectively a double Zhonya's Hourglass with his Frozen Tomb if he casts it on himself, and obviously the Zhonya's Hourglass as well, once he comes out of them, he's actually fairly squishy. He'll be going down pretty quick.
Yeah, and we are starting to hit the point in the game where people are getting item capped. Currently, Caitlyn is on, 6 items. She could swap out those boots, but quite a likely thing for her to do is apparently that, obviously, she'll stick on the Berserker's Greaves, will give her that mobility, which is nice for her to retain. And obviously, she keeps the Furor boots, has that enchantment on them, and then she will just swap out the GA if she goes down, because obviously, a GA without a passive is a very inefficient item. You can swap it out for something else. Banshee's Quicksilver Slash actually going in. We've got Kaostv in the middle of them. Root goes down, stun goes down. Shipper going very low. Crescendo does get off though, so Tsuchi has been popped. Glucose coming in. Lego My Ego fighting Reckless, but I don't think he's going to be able to do anything now. Shook is getting aggressive. The knockback goes down. Lego My Ego popped as well. Tsuchi is back up though. He's going back in. Young Buck is in trouble. They are jumping in on this. We have got Shook now going low. Reckless on Tsuchi. Tsuchi putting down the damage in the fight, but he has actually gone down now, but the rest of his team are following this up. They have to get some kills here. They have lost so many GAs that if the next fight occurs in the same way, then they won't be in good shape. But very close game, and I don't think they can actually do very much of this. They are actually going to go for the Baron though.
Yeah, Sarasky with his Consume could feasibly pick this one up, but Shook is still lurking around. He is stalking in the shadows, but I don't think he feels he's got enough of a chance here. Shipper is going to consistently put the W's up when he has enough mana to do so. And with Glucose and Nunu with the Blood Boil, I feel he can pick this one up. So they are going to be taking the Baron here. And another thing for Lee Sin is that the minions are pushing very aggressively on towards his inhibitor. So even though he kind of wanted to try some kind of snazzy steal, in the back of his mind he's like, I've got to keep the inhib up, and it's just fallen, Spuddington. So not only did they lose the Baron, but they lose the mid inhib as well. Bad times.
Yeah, and even if you're item cap, Baron still counts to increase your stats. However, we are going to be seeing, obviously, no Guardian Angels. That's quite a big problem, because what you actually saw in that fight was Tsuchi getting quite badly caught, getting quite badly killed. but obviously he had that G8 and was able to come back in, and that's why they won that fight. That's why they got the the Baron. So obviously that's good for them in this state. Broken Shard is telling me quite clearly that the Frozen Heart is actually not the best pickup for Nunu at the moment. And he says he should probably go for Zeke's instead. Obviously getting an aura item, although Frozen Heart is an aura item, apparently is the optimal scenario here. Nunu obviously did want that armor though, presumably. Do not think of Zeke's. Not a very common item to see, to be honest. But it is true, though, his team is very, very, well, good with attack damage and obviously that lifesteal as well. They have two very heavy auto attackers on their side. And yeah, he is making a good point there. They do obviously have very few attack speed dependent champs, basically, up against. I mean, Reckless, Q's, Kaostv, and obviously Shook. Kind of auto attacks occasionally, but it's not too huge. Still, anyway, we are going to be going, continuing on. It does feel at the moment, though, like Dongsquad aren't really pushing very hard, considering they have Baron.
Well, there's a great deal of respect between these two teams, and we've seen this throughout this concluding third game, that neither team wants to be overly aggressive. Neither team wants to kind of overstay their welcome and push a lane too hard. And a lot of respect between the two of them, realizing that the next big slip-up could very well cost them the game. If PrideFC do end up losing a team fight, you are going to see Dongsquad just go right down the middle. The inhib and the tower are dead. They will be able to finish this game off. The respawn timers are going to be towards the minute mark right now, so one big slip-up will cost you the game. And that's definitely preying on both of these teams' minds, knowing that they've made it this far, they've battled through a grueling best of three, they do not want to throw it away with one stupid decision. So they are going to be pushing down towards the top lane here, warding as they go. They've got an Oracles on Shipper as well, so they know they haven't been spotted just yet. And you can see that on the flip side, PrideFC are like, they're caught in two minds of where to go. Serescu is going to take point once again, pushing down the top lane. Lissandra is at the bot, and they're going to try and pick this one up right now. The Blood Boil and Caitlyn, this tower will not last very long. They're going to engage with the Unstoppable Force. Here comes Leona as well. True Shot Barrage was from the side. Jace doing his best to push away Youngbuck from his AD carry. Does manage to do so. Here comes a taunt as well from Glucose. Crescendo lands onto three players. That was beautiful. And here comes a Frozen Tomb as well. So much damage being put down, but nobody has fallen just yet. This is ridiculous. Sona picks up, breaks the deadlock. Lissandra going back on towards Shen. And that is a 1-for-1 exchange, but it's a support for your top laner. So one of them very tanky characters taking out of the equation for Dongsquad, now going to be trying to tank up and take down this top tower. Not going to be able to get the inhib though. So overall, 1-for-1 exchange, but everything thrown at each other. That was ridiculous.
Yes, but again, Dongsquad coming out ahead in terms of objectives, because they've taken that top tower, and now also that bottom tower is getting poked down by the minions. It's down to about half health, so they obviously now have easy force fights if they want them. Again, they can go for that top inhib. The mid inhib should be respawning relatively soon. They could go for that, and obviously that just gives them the options available that their opponents just don't have. They can push, they can force fights, but they can also disengage whenever they want. They have places to retreat to if they get caught out, if they lose one man. Obviously, if they lose more than one man at this point, though, they aren't really in a good spot. And we do now have Lego My Ego has picked up that Infinity Edge. Yeah, I did say Hypercharge can crit. It's really, really scary. I'm a little bit surprised to see them still sticking on these GAs, though, although they have actually come back up again. Caitlyn is currently holding on to only 385 gold. Has actually swapped out boots for Zephyr now, so has Tenacity and has even more attack speed.
It makes a lot of sense. I mentioned this before. I was curious if you'd stick with the Berserker Greaves or go for the Zephyr, because of course the Zephyr does give you movement speed, gives you plus 10%, but on top of that it's giving you 50% attack speed. You put that in terms of also the Blood Boil from Nunu, and she is going to be firing like a machine gun, and there's very little that anyone can do to stop that. As you say as well, the 35% reduction of stuns and everything else and snares is going to pay out dividends as well. Here comes the Malphite. The Frozen Tomb does go on towards Lego My Ego. The Sony Douglas has been popped as well. Here comes the Crescendo, just landing onto a couple of players. Jace from the side will be taking down Lissandra. This is a 2-for-0 exchange so far. This could very well be the GG. Young Buck is trying his best to escape, but Caitlyn is just hailing down on him from the backside. Here comes a shot blast as well. Does land on towards Young Buck, but he is forced to flash away. I believe it was. Yes, it was. He still has his Unstoppable Force up. That's one inhib down. Now focusing onto the second inhib. Here comes the Unstoppable Force. They're going to be trying to re-engage this. It is a 3 versus 5, but this is their last chance saloon. Reckless doing a great job from the backside, just kiting around, doing as much damage as he possibly can. Is he able to pick up 4 or 5 players by himself, though? I don't think it's likely. Malphite goes down. It's a 1 versus 5 situation. Here comes It's the Hole. Very nearly picks him up. Here comes Chef from the side as well. But play the Rune King will keep Ezreal alive. But 1 versus 4 situation. True Shot Barrage goes through. The Jeer on Caitlyn is going to allow her to tank up this Nexus tower. And unless Reckless can pull off the play of a lifetime, I think this could very well be the GG. Jace is jumping in. Look at the burst damage. It's ridiculous. Sona from the side. That's the shutdown. But Reckless falls, and that's going to be the GG. 2-1 to Dongsquad. Oh my good God. What an incredible game that was, Spud.
This has been one of the most close fought best of threes I've seen. Every single game going so close either way. Could have happened. Still, gotta hand it to them. Dongsquad coming in very well, and the confidence of PrideFC obviously broken there. So obviously we will now move into the next game, because I think this best of three has gone on for so long. I think the next best of three is actually already underway, so we should be getting underway very quickly. But we will be moving into a quick commercial break. We do also have some giveaways which we'll talk about later, and obviously that is me and Metas signing off. If you like us, you can see us in chat. We have some social media you can follow. Obviously though, we're going to be going to a quick commercial break. See you all in just 10 seconds.